In the previous episode, while Toya was wandering around, he came across a girl who was immersed in her own blood. It seemed that a very powerful monster had attacked her with full force. Toya, being the hero, tried to heal her with all his might, but he couldn't do anything for her because her wounds were too severe. Stay tuned for this episode to find out who this girl is and how she was brutally attacked. Also, what is the story behind the twin monster that can petrify things without any fight from a distance of 2 kilometers? It's going to be a very exciting episode leading up to the finale. The episode starts with Toya being with the nurse who tells him about the girl he found in the mountains. She informs him that she has awakened and all her wounds and missing body parts have been healed. Toya is amazed that she was able to regenerate her body within a day. However, there is one problem: she appears to have lost her memory. She suffers from amnesia but still retains common knowledge, the ability to read, write, and perform calculations. All her memories about herself have been lost. Toya initially thought it was due to the treatment, but it turns out that if she only regenerated her head, she wouldn't have lost her memory. It's the regeneration of limbs that causes memory loss. Then they enter the room where the girl is. They see a beautiful girl sitting on her bed, looking sad. Toya introduces himself and tries to reassure her, but she doesn't know her own name or anything about her wounds. Toya is unsure of what to do, but he hopes that she will eventually regain her memory. She asks him about himself, and he tells her that he is Toya, the Great Duke of Brunhild, and that he found her collapsed in the mountains. He brought her here because she had severe injuries, but it would be inappropriate to leave her nameless. So, he decided to call her Sakura because she has beautiful hair the color of cherry blossoms. The girl is surprised by the name but tells Toya that Sakura is suitable. She thanks him for that. Afterwards, Toya gathers his assistants and discusses whether Sakura is still in the alchemist's wing or not. He informs them that she is now able to walk on her own, so he moved her to the guest room. It's possible that she might be out on a stroll at the moment. His friend suggests that it's not appropriate to leave her alone, but Toya assures her that he assigned Kugyoku as her personal guard, so he believes she will be fine. The two girls think it's comforting for someone who has lost their memory, but Toya responds that she probably doesn't go through that kind of feeling at all if she doesn't remember anything about herself. One of Toya's friends leaves to go to the night training grounds, while the other heads to the kitchen to learn cooking. Toya tells them that he doesn't have any planned meetings for the day. Then Toya went to the park to see Sakura, and he found her singing with a very beautiful voice. When she saw him, she stopped singing, and he told her that her voice was incredibly beautiful to the point of shocking him. Then he asked her if she liked singing or not, and she replied that she didn't know anything, but she felt like she loved it. Toya had a solution for her, which was to take her to the piano room so she could practice on it. He started playing the piano, as it had been many years since he played on one. When he finished playing, Sakura entered and applauded him. Then she asked if this was what he wanted to show her, and he answered yes, calling it a piano. When you press these white and black keys, it produces sound. I thought you would enjoy an instrument like this, so I asked you to play it again, but a different song. Then Sakura sang while Toya and the girls were amazed by her voice. Then this girl asked her to sing again, and Sakura agreed. After that, we see Toya sitting with this girl, and she asks him about a monster called Katablipas. It is an extremely powerful monster that emits a very strong poison from its mouth to the point that it causes flowers to wither. But the scariest thing about it is its mysterious eyes. Those who stare into Katablipas' eyes have their legs paralyzed immediately, and in the end, their whole bodies turn into stone. So Toya said, if this monster has settled in the Militia Mountains and has already caused victims, we need to do something. That's why we want to ask for your help, Your Majesty, as one of the highest-ranked adventurers. She replied, yes, we received news that 3 teams, consisting of 13 adventurers, have already turned into stone. If we don't do anything, the damage will increase. That's why we want to seek your assistance, as there is no one else we can rely on who matches your rank. The only person who can rival your rank and whom we can rely on is the former king of the Knights of Lestia, but we shouldn't depend on a man in his 70s. Toya thought to himself that his grandfather was a top-ranked adventurer. Then he spoke to her, saying, I know someone in Lestia. If there's no one else who can defeat him except me, then I apologize, but I will accept this request directly after I become the ruler of the country. She apologized and said that she would deliver this request to him directly once he becomes the ruler. But we want you to solve this problem for us, please. Then she asked him about the reward when he defeats Catablipas. He replied, saying that the reward we collected from the surrounding towns and villages amounts to that much. Then she handed him the paper and spoke to him, saying that he would accept this task, and she would be fine since she possessed the enchantment of the heroes. She believed that she could save the adventurers who had been turned into stone. The girl thanked him and said, we will rely on you. After that, Toya met with the girls, and she told him that this girl had accepted the task because the reward was excellent. He replied, don't make me look bad. I cannot allow it to cause more harm than it has already done. The reward is important too, and creating an engine frame costs a lot of money. The girl said, Catablipas is a rare monster that rarely appears, and there aren't many Catablipas creatures to begin with. It's difficult for them to mate because they both possess the mysterious forbidden eyes. So, both of them must avoid forbidding each other while attempting to mate. Toya was surprised and said, Catablipas creatures can forbid each other? She replied, yes, they cannot gaze into the eyes of their loved ones. Then he said to them, I'll leave now and return usually in the evening. Then one of the girls offered to accompany him to this mysterious place because they were very worried about him. It had been a very long time since they fought monsters, and they also wanted to see this rare monster with petrified eyes. It was an extremely rare type, and after much insistence from the girls, Toya agreed to take them with him. Now we move outside the house, where Toya and his friend are, and he hands her the blue sword, a very powerful sword that would easily defeat the Catablipas monster, regardless of its strength. Although the sword was originally made to be used against the monster Freeze, the girl thanked him profusely because it was a beautiful sword. At this time, the rest of the girls arrive, angry because they didn't have a sword like hers. But he tells them that each girl has a sword and can use it at any time. After a few hours, Toya finally arrives at the desired location. Then he uses his mobile phone to find the monster's location, and after some time, the phone signals the desired place. As they are going, one of the girls asks him about the petrified heroes, whether Toya will return them to their normal state before fighting the monster or if he will leave them until he finishes the fight. But Toya is very clever and doesn't want to involve them in this battle. He will return them to their normal state after defeating the monster. In these moments, suddenly the monster appears before them, and Toya informs them that he has added some enchantments to their rings so that they won't be completely petrified. Toya moves forward a little and begins his first attack. The girls were fully prepared, each with her assigned task that she could easily accomplish. They formed a complete team. Then they wielded their swords and the girls attacked the monster, cutting off its tail. At that moment, another girl used her power and struck the monster in its belly. However, toxic smoke emerged from it, and Toya warned them not to get close to it. The monster started to attack Lindsay, but Toya saved her just in time and flew away from the monster. He then summoned the mighty greatsword and began fighting the monster again. They jumped up and with all his strength, Toya struck the monster's head, splitting it in half with the powerful sword. How magnificent you are, the hero Toya, as he managed to defeat it with a single strike of his sword. But at that moment, he was surprised to find his feet starting to petrify. He panicked but used the power of the enchantment and struck his feet against the trees to break free from the petrification. Lulu was very scared because her hands began to petrify, even though the monster was already dead. Her friend reassured her that the monster's eyes would continue to function for a while even after its death. We notice that some of her clothes have petrified. Petrification usually begins either from the ground or the closest part to it. We see her friends surrounding her so she can change her petrified clothes. Toya is asked not to turn around, no matter what happens. Suddenly, another monster emerges and looks at Toya, petrifying him. Toya uses his recovery technique to heal himself and warns them all that there is another monster. They are all shocked, and we see Toya unable to attack because the monster's eyes prevent him from doing so. He thinks of a solution to attack without the monster petrifying him. He decides to cover only these two eyes so that he can attack without being harmed. Suddenly, an idea crosses his mind, a technique he found in a book while researching how to fly. Toya uses this technique called mosaic to block the monster's vision, preventing it from using petrification. Then they attack and easily defeat the monster. After that, they go to the palace, and we find this girl who came to thank him for completing the mission. She rewards him and apologizes for her lack of information. She didn't know that there were two monsters. Then Toya uses his recovery spell on these petrified people, and they return to their normal state. After that, we move on to Toya watching the ruler's training with the humanoid robots that he fixed. They are very happy with this amazing invention and ask him to give it to their country so they can defend themselves. Toya agrees to that and allows them and their knights to train with it so they can defend their country and homeland. We then move to the princess to whom Toya gave this sword. She contemplates the sword and how it was made, and her grandfather notices that and tells her that the great Duke Brunhild once said that a transparent sword cannot be made without unique processing. Thus, the rumors about the great Duke Brunhild are true, that he possesses many mysterious weapons and also has giant soldiers that people ride. And that's the end of episode 10. Stay tuned for the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all the latest updates.